Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome to the Nook. Back from holidays, done a week of work, and it's a Saturday. So I'm a little late today, but I want to talk to you about a couple of scotches, and it looks like a couple more ex-sherried scotches. So stick with me. I do review other whiskeys, but today I want to talk to you about a couple of sherried scotches. I won't say sherry bomb, but heavily sherry influenced scotches. The first one we'll talk about is Glengoyne 12-year-old Highland Scotch, single malt. And then we'll talk about Box the Spaniard. The Spaniard has a little bit of ex-bourbon in here as well, and some other casking I can talk about later, but certainly a heavy sherry influenced Scotch. This is a Scotch blend. So I don't know how to hold these bottles and do the byline that I normally do at the beginning, but if you've got any sherried Scotch at all, a little Glengoyne would be nice, or something from Compass Box. When you pour a bit, when we come back, we'll talk both of these Scottish malts. 3, 4. Thanks for staying with me. Hope your summer's going along well. And as I said in the opener, we're going to talk about some sherry influenced Scotch. The first one here is Glengoyne. It's Glengoyne 12-year-old, released at 43%. It is natural color, which is nice. I believe it's mostly for second fill sherry, but there is some bourbon in here. Does not say if it's chill filtered or not, so I assume it is chill filtered. Still, really like it that it's a little bit off the floor, so 43%, and that it is a natural color. So then I can actually consider the color and look at it and go, what a lovely shade. What do we know is taste and talk the whiskey. So this is Glengoyne 12-year-old. Nose. It's a nice sweet Scotch. It's got lots of orchard fruits for me, some apples, some cut pear. There already is a light toffee or caramel, vanilla, so a little bit of floral sweetness. Oh, and a little more toffee coming back. So it started first with some fruits, just like cut fruits, but actually the back of the nose was surprisingly caramel toffee rich. Let's try it on the palate. Sláinte. In the palate, that's a nice Scotch. Just a light, refreshing Scotch. The nice part for me here was a good balance of fruit came in there. A little bit of that sherry influence. So that makes it a richer fruit, a sweeter fruit. Yeah, a little bit of red fruits, whatever those are. Some berry. It's a little bit tart. So I was gonna say like a raspberry. It's not quite as sweet as that, but some red berries in there, some richer fruits, bit of spicing, not a lot, some nut quality. That's a nice dram. Better try another sip. Second sip, as often the case with me in my palate, I get a little more of the oaks, a little bit of must, not a lot, but a little more of that heavier sherry influence. Now we've got that dark reds, a little bit of leathers, a little bit of, as I was saying, more nut comes up in that, some char. Not a lot, but the second sip or maybe the finish to me brings some of the balance that it's casting, it's oaking, and that kind of thing that's going on. Whereas the nose is very fresh and orchardy for me. The palate brings a little bit more richness, little dark fruits, a little bit of leathers, not a lot, but a bit, some nut. And then the back end, the finish or the second sips or what you're kind of left with, I definitely move into the oak quality and that kind of thing, and ends up being a really nice, refreshing, balanced dram. This Glengoyne, I'm fortunate in my market is actually a value. It's a good price, and this bottle for summer has actually been disappearing pretty quick because it is so nice. It's just worth thinking about and sipping. It's an easy 3 3/4 star for me. It's a great bottle, and I like it a little more than the 10. At first, I wasn't sure, and now it's just nice. There's some bitterness. The bitterness is a little bit like hazelnut bitterness. Sometimes when I'm using hazelnuts at Christmas time, I get a little bit of that bitterness. So I would suggest If you're wondering, for me, there's a little bit on the edges of my tongue and a little bit there that keeps it from being like an absolute favorite, but I certainly enjoy Glengoyne 12. So coming over to take a look at Compass Box the Spaniard. Compass Box, this is a blended malt. So it's all malt, all barley, but it is made up from a variety of distilleries in Scotland. One of the best parts of buying and bringing home a Compass Box expression is going to their website and looking at their details that they release. The percentage of this cask, percentage of that cask. And then it's sometimes fun. I'm guilty of this, sipped in front of that chart, right? So this one is natural color, but it's also non-chill filtered, but it's also 43%. So I think it's a really nice comparison with this bottle. In my market, they're also almost exactly the same price. This is an older one. So if you go online, this is the one that's, I think, the 2019. So this includes some of their Highland blend, which has Clynelish and whatnot, but it's got some red wine in here from Taninic red wine cask. It's got Strathmill. It's got, I'm not going to remember them. It's just worth looking up online. And then sometimes you sip in front of that chart and try to taste like, oh, do I get any of that? Am I tasting any of that? It's an experience. You can tell that I like John Glaser and the Compass Box, but we'll see what I get from the Spaniard. Sweeter on the nose, a little more fresh fruit, a little more citrus. Actually, a little more sherry influence on the nose. Yeah, this was giving me a little bit of a graham cracker, a little cinnamon, but a little more bourbon influence on the nose than the Spaniard. Could be that red wine because it's getting a little bit more of that grape, more of that prune, that kind of plum prune. Cool. Let's try it on the palate. Sancha. It's a bolder palate. It's definitely a spicier palate. It's got even a little bit of peppering, but brighter cinnamons and more Christmas spices, baking spices. The palate perks. It's got also some nuts here, maybe some coconut or a little walnut even. Definitely spicier. Better try another little sip. Cheers. A little more caramel, a little more, spicy oaks, some tannins. It's brighter. It's a little hotter. So this Glengoyne, I really felt was that light, refreshing, summery. This has some of that flavor profile, but with the additional spice and the additional red wine and nut quality, it's a little huskier, if I may. So it would be a little more leaning into a cooler evening or a night by a fire kind of thing. So very interesting. This right now is pretty cool for me to sip through, try to pick apart, try to get different layers, try to get different flavors. And for me, I like it a little more. Really critically, it's probably about the same, 3 3/4 in terms of a star rating. But I'm more interested in the Spaniard. I love picking it apart. I love it's a little more oily, a little more coating. I like it more right now. But as I try to share what I'm getting, this Glengoyne might have a broader appeal. It is lighter and a little bit more refreshing. Thanks for joining me here down in the Nook. I hope your Saturday's gone well. Oh, my wife recently bought me a gift to fit right behind me, and I do want to give this group a shout out because it is insane. I don't even know how I'm going to sort this. You know how lots of people have whiskey barrel heads behind them. So this is just that. It's a barrel head, but it's not fake. I don't know how to explain it except to say, ow, that this is the real deal. It's a big piece of metal. It's a thick barrel head. That's genuine, barrel char. It smells delicious. And these guys are just northwest of Edmonton. And it was a great value for such a big and hefty piece. So I want to give them a shout out. I think they're called Rustic company, Rustic Heritage Company. I'm not quite sure, but they're just outside of Edmonton, and they worked with my wife to get my design on there. And then when it came in, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out how I properly mount that. I'm not just gonna put that on a 3M hook and stick it behind me. Thanks for joining me here. Hope you find a little bit of insight like that just kind of interesting, and I hope you enjoyed my thoughts about Glengoyne or Compass Box the Spaniard. If you have either of them or have tried either of them, please share your thoughts. It's always the best part. You guys take care.